Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lorraine Taylor. This is Do Brand You. It's all about you here. You unleashing your potential in every season of life. Today is a Friday chat, and in Friday chats, I go behind the scenes and I share with you what I've been working on during the week, a specific theme that I pull out, and usually it's a challenge that I've had, and I share with you how I've been able to overcome that and to inspire you, to motivate you, and give you tips and strategies along the way. Today's focus is going to be on our small wins, those little micro wins that we really need to pay attention to and we really need to focus on. What I found this week is as I dived into trying to understand this, why I always kind of felt exhausted at the end of the day, I learned some things, and it's about the Zeigarnik Effect, which I want to share with you today. So let's get into it. So the feeling that I have, and I know that it resonates with a lot of people, they've told me as well, but it's something that definitely I get challenged with, and that is that it doesn't matter how much I get done during the day. At the end of the day, I always feel like I haven't done enough. It's like I set out, I'm big on planning. My last Friday chat was plan weekly, live daily. I'm big on the plans. I'm big on getting projects done. I'm very much into doing that. I have these great organized plans, and then it doesn't matter what happens during the day. We don't always get what we intended to get done. Like yesterday, I was busy doing something, but I had some papers I had to sign, go through with the accountant. I should have done it before and I didn't, so I had to do it yesterday. Kind of threw me off. And so then I thought more about what I didn't get done than what I did at the end of the day. The other thing is I have oftentimes, I'll have a to-do list, of things I want to get done during the day. And instead of feeling kind of positive about getting things done, I tend to be the person that I get stressed. I only got this done. I'm like, what time is it? I haven't got enough done. And it's, again, what the whole point here is that I focus on what I have not done rather than what I have accomplished. And it is exhausting. It's exhausting to constantly feel like, I'm playing catch up. And it's easy to feel, that I don't move forward enough and to think how much further I need to go with things. And this is the thing, is that this is actually a psychological thing that happens that's very normal for humans to do. So I want to introduce you to this because it was this psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik, and it was back in the 1920s, and she recognized this in people as well, and she was really intrigued. She asked participants in a study that she was doing to complete simple tasks, and then some of these people were interrupted before they could finish. And what she found that she was surprised at was that the people were twice as likely to remember the tasks that they had not finished over the ones that they had completed. So she had done this big study. This discovery became known as the Zeigarnik Effect, and it explains so much about how our minds work. When we leave tasks unfinished, our brains create this mental tension around them. And this tension makes the unfinished tasks stick with us. And it's like this nagging reminder in the back of our minds that something still needs to be done. So it's how we operate as humans. So think about it. Every time you leave something unfinished, it sits there taking up mental space. And that is why at the end of the day, it feels like you haven't accomplished anything, even though you were so busy. Our brains are wired to focus on the incomplete rather than the finished. It's like this constant background noise that makes it hard for us to recognize our wins and to actually celebrate those wins that we have. But it's really, really important that we do celebrate small wins, and that we can often lose sight of the progress we've made when we don't do that. So you can actually use this Zeigarnik effect to your advantage. And this is what I have personally found. So I used to be the type of person that makes these massive, overwhelming to-do lists. And I'd get halfway through it, and by the end of the day, I'd feel like I was failing because so many things were left unfinished. My mind would focus on the unfinished things. But then I shifted my focus, and I began to break those big projects down into small things that I could celebrate. Actually, I thought that this is so similar to how I actually accomplished some big hikes here in New Zealand. So it's back quite a few years ago now that I did one of the great walks here in New Zealand. It was called the Kepler. Highly recommend it. If you're ever in New Zealand, the South Island, down by Te Anau, there's this most amazing walk. You go along this ridge line at the top. It's absolutely stunning. It's a 4-day hike, and you sleep in these cabins on the way. And the first day of that hike, the Kepler hike, you go along the lake, and then you start going up, and then it's just straight up. It's just up, but, winding your way up through a lot of trees, so you're not really seeing any progress that you're making, but you have to keep going up. It's a really long day. It was at least 6 hours of walking, so it's a really challenging day. And I remember when I was doing that hike that to keep my motivation up and to keep, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I have so much further to go. But then I started creating small wins. And so I would round a corner and I would see, oh, up there is another corner. And so my job right now in the moment, daily in the moment, is to get to the next corner. And I did. And then I celebrated that, like, yay, took a photo or did something. And so just celebrating the wins step by step. And then that way you get to the goals that you have. In my daily life, I started to celebrate these small steps, and I keep track of these little wins that I do in one of the apps that I use. So what is the psychology actually behind this concept of celebrating small wins? I always have to ask that question, why does this make sense in science? So psychologically, when we complete even a really small, tiny task, our brain gets hit with dopamine. That's kind of like the feel-good chemical. And this creates a positive effect and becomes like this feedback loop. So we go for another small task, we win, we celebrate, that kicks in the dopamine, and we feel more motivated and more focused. And now we're on this uphill and upward spiral, and it's getting us to where we want to go, which is so much better than living in the stress that I live in my life, where I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done this. I'm always thinking about what I haven't done, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like down in the dumps by the end of the day. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just help you feel more productive. It actually makes you more productive because you're not constantly bogged down by the unfinished tasks. And the best thing is, like in the Kepler hike, when I finally got to the first cabin for that hike, I had so many little dopamine rushes all the way up. I just had a great day. I had photographs to take, to remind me of the special things, the moments that I experienced. And the whole thing was so much better than this trudgery of it's taking so long, I'm not getting there, da, da, da. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. It's something that I've done. I use Things 3, an app it's like a to-do list on steroids app. One day I'll share how I use that. I found a really effective way to use it. I'll share that on the channel here. But I actually found that by using that Things 3 app, I have a section on the app. It's like a to-do list, and it's called celebrations. And so what I do is during the day, I actually take a moment, like stopping, taking that photo, take that visual evidence, and I actually write in on the app, on my to-do list, on a list, this is what I'm going to celebrate right now. And then by the end of the day, if I don't do that, I find at the end of the day, I can't remember exactly what I did, like signed all those papers for the accountant, like that's a big thing. Like I got it done, but then by this way, I can easily look at the end of the day. And what I've now started doing is I have a diary that I use. And I just it just has an area where I can write in for every day, and I just summarize all of those little moments that I had for the day. Really keeps an upbeat. This is the Do Brand You channel. I always like to leave some action items that you can choose from and to move forward in your journey. So I thought of 4 that I want to share with you based on this theme. So one, as I've talked about in this video, is to break large tasks into smaller steps. So instead of writing down like you need to finish this project, break it in like I need to get to that cabin on the Kepler hike. That's going to take me 6 or 7 hours. Really bite-size it down. If your project is write out the outline, do the first draft, complete that. And so make sure that your bigger projects have these smaller steps in it that your mind tells you, oh, that's so when I finish that, I'm going to do a wee celebration. And then the second one is to track and celebrate those small wins. And I found when I didn't do that, I would forget what I was doing. So like I said, I'm using the Things 3 app. I have a special section in my app where I actually write the celebrations, the wins, the small wins, signing the accountant papers in that I can use to create a summary at the end of the day. And then this is an interesting one, and I started doing this week, and that is to start a task even if you can't finish it. And just by starting it, you're going to create momentum needed to complete it later. So what I've sometimes oh, I'm not going to start that because I don't have time. But when the task is to just start and then you celebrate, hey, I started it. Then when you come back in tomorrow, it's like, oh, wow, I can just finish that off, and there you go. And you're creating an upward momentum there. And then the final thing is end your day by reflecting on your accomplishments. And it's so easy to forget to do that. I'm a real big person that have my morning routine. I do my reflections. I do my gratitude and everything. And I find that now before I finish, I work from home. So before I finish my work here in my office or wherever I'm working, I do my gratitudes again, or I do them later on. I might do them on a walk or just before bed. So I really encourage you to do that. So break your tasks into smaller chunks and celebrate. Track those celebrations, those small wins. Start a task. Use that as a small task you can do so that you can finish it again. Keep that upward momentum going, and always end your day by reflecting on what you have done. And then you don't need to be subject to the Zeigarnik Effect where you're always thinking about everything that you haven't done. It's a very, very normal human response. There's so many people like myself. Maybe you deal with the same thing. So I hope that is some food for thought for you. If you can, go ahead and share below in the comments below one of the small little celebrations, small wins that you've had for today. So as we wrap up the chat, I want to encourage you to take the moment right now and really celebrate something right now, and celebrate it and enjoy it. So that's it for today's Friday chat. Enjoy your weekend that's coming up, and I will see you next week.